What time is it? Yes!
Welcome to TNS, your channel for all the latest news and updates from around the league. The LAURI MARKKANEN chatter continues to surround the Utah Jazz as we navigate through the NBA offseason. With most of the top trade and free agency candidates of this summer settled into their new homes, all eyes are focused on the Jazz forward, with hopes of a blockbuster deal developing in the coming weeks. Several teams around the league have already been revealed to have interest in the 27-year-old, but more names have begun to enter the fold. At least one team interested in MARKKANEN is projecting confidence that Utah will trade the NBA All-Star forward in the near future, even if they extend him. Despite MARKKANEN wanting to stay with the Jazz, Utah remains motivated to trade him due to the difficulty it's faced in acquiring top-level players alongside him. That could make the trade route more attractive, especially given the projected strength of the 2025 and 2026 drafts. The important caveat in this is the way MARKKANEN's current contract is structured. The Jazz cannot use their $30 million in cap space until August 6, so they would not sign the Finnish big man to an extension until then. If MARKKANEN re-signs with Utah at that junction, the Jazz could not trade him for exactly 6 months, which happens to be the trade deadline for the 2024-2025 season. The Warriors have emerged as a possible destination for MARKKANEN, though the trade would potentially drain the franchise of important draft picks. There are other difficulties as well, namely that the 27-year-old has 1 year left on his contract and would command significantly more money than the $18 million he is due next season. So, any team that trades for him would have to work out a long-term contract to make the trade worthwhile. Utah has failed to build a consistent playoff team around MARKKANEN, so they may move on from him at some point. MARKKANEN, 27, has 1 year remaining on his contract and could become an unrestricted free agent after the 2024-25 season if he doesn't sign a new deal before then. Golden State still is looking for another high-caliber player to pair alongside Steph Curry, and the 7-foot forward could be exactly what the franchise needs. Still, there is nothing concrete at this point, as reports have suggested that the Jazz may just stay put and work out a long-term contract extension. The Warriors, Heat, and Kings are all teams that were either in the playoffs or on the fringes of the playoffs last season, while the Spurs are looking to make a big leap forward in Victor Wembanyama's second season, making all of them logical landing spots for MARKKANEN should he get traded. The Warriors arguably need MARKKANEN more than any of the other teams rumored to be interested in him since they lost Klay Thompson to the Dallas Mavericks in free agency. In his first season with the Jazz in 2022-23, after getting traded from the Cleveland Cavaliers as part of the blockbuster deal involving Donovan Mitchell, MARKKANEN averaged 25.6 points, 8.6 rebounds, and 3.0 three-pointers made per game, and he was named the most improved player and an All-Star for the first time. MARKKANEN was not an All-Star last season, but his numbers were nearly as good, averaging 23.2 points, 8.2 rebounds, and 3.2 three-pointers made per game, while shooting 48.0% from the floor and 39.9% from deep. As for the Spurs, they had the second worst record in the Western Conference last season, but Wembanyama was every bit as good as advertised as a rookie. The Spurs are one of the few teams that can make a meaningful addition, but it's not surprising not much has happened in recent days. If all Utah wants is draft picks for the sweet shooting forward, the Spurs can put a great package together by including the Hawks' picks and maybe even the recently acquired 2031 Timberwolves pick. They are not the only suitor, though, so it's up to the Jazz to determine what's the best offer they can get, and everyone knows how tough it is to deal with Danny Ainge. Adding MARKKANEN would give the Spurs the best and most talented front court in the NBA. Plus, they added veteran point guard Chris Paul in free agency and first-round pick Stephen Castle in the draft, meaning they would perhaps be ready to take a big step forward and compete for a playoff spot next season. The Jazz naturally could just keep MARKKANEN and re-sign him themselves. They could even potentially lock him up on a long-term deal this summer as of August 6. They will be able to use their cap space to bump his 2023-24 salary up to as much as $42.3 million and extend his contract off of that number for up to 4 years and $202 million. On his next deal, though, MARKKANEN won't have as much trade value as he does today, particularly if they can create a bidding war. Utah is worlds away from win-now mode, so even though Markkanen is just approaching his prime, he could be worth more as somebody else's missing piece than the Jazz's centerpiece. It's easy to see why the Warriors would be interested in Markkanen. After losing Klay Thompson in free agency to the Dallas Mavericks, Golden State sorely needs another scorer to help take some pressure off Stephen Curry. Markkanen would obviously be up for the task. Golden State also needs to make some moves to improve upon a bitterly disappointing season that ended with a crushing loss to the Sacramento Kings in the play-in tournament. The Warriors went 46-36, only good enough for 10th in the Western Conference. So Golden State needs to get something done in hopes of better competing in the West, an absolute gauntlet of a conference that runs deep. Markkanen would be a great fit for the team, helping give the Warriors more range and size. Of course, there's serious competition for him, but Golden State may be the most desperate team of the bunch right now. The Warriors need to do their best to remain competitive around Stephen Curry and Draymond Green, and Markkanen seems like an answer to multiple problems. So we'll see if Utah is amenable to a deal, but the Warriors are obviously the top team to watch right now for an eventual Markkanen landing spot should the Jazz agree to a deal. Miami was active on the trade market last offseason during their ultimately unsuccessful Damian Lillard endeavor, and they could now have another shot at securing another star in South Beach with the right offer. However, we know how Ainge operates in these trade discussions, so it could be easier said than done for something to come to form. When compared to other suitors, it's hard for the Heat to stack up in terms of assets. They don't have ownership of their first-round picks in 2025 and 2027, and their top young talent doesn't match up with the rest of the field. If the Jazz wanted to maximize their value on Markkanen, the Heat may not be the team to do business with. Markkanen is coming off another strong season in Salt Lake City, averaging 23.2 points, 8.2 rebounds, and 2.0 assists. For a versatile 7-foot forward sitting in the middle of his prime, Utah is going to need a haul in return to make it worthwhile, but it remains to be seen if an opposing team is willing to cough that up. The Sacramento Kings have been at the forefront of many trade rumors this offseason, but with no deal made thus far, a blockbuster could be imminent. The Kings have been linked to Kyle Kuzma, Brandon Ingram, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, and most recently, Utah Jazz star LAURI Markkanen. While it seems unlikely the Jazz will ship out their star forward, reports suggest the Kings could be the team to pry him away. If the Kings come out of the offseason with reports of just coming close to blockbuster trades, unfortunately, many Sacramento fans would not be shocked. Until a deal is finalized, it will be the same old story for the Kings. After becoming a breakout star with the Jazz, Markkanen has been a hot commodity on the trade market. For the Kings, this means giving up rising star Keegan Murray would likely be necessary in this deal. A skilled trio of De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis, and LAURI Markkanen would catapult the Kings into title contention. But how much of their future would Sacramento have to give up for this scenario? Markkanen is entering the last year of his contract and will be due for a maximum extension soon. Utah prefers to keep LAURI, but in the small chance that they trade him, the Kings need to be the first in line. Please check back soon to get the latest NBA trade news and updates, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching TNS.